33%. That is the average average score of what I would get for doing card guessing and getting right answers. So 33% of the time I would get a right answer in card guessing from these 3 sessions that we've done. So on the channel, PathandTarot. Hi, I'm Brent. I read tarot cards and play around with ESP card guessing, and that's what this video series is all about. We are in the data analysis part of just looking at the information from the card guessing sessions and just talking about it and seeing what we can make of all this. The deck used was the Path and Elemental deck. It's like the deck that I made just for this channel and just for this kind of purpose, and then it's grown into being a part of a tarot reading and things like that. So I read tarot cards on this channel and do some other things too. It's a lot of fun. This is great. But this deck is based on the Zener card deck, which would have been used in the early 20th century to do card guessing and test people. So it's basically 5 sets of 5 symbols. That's the symbols. Maybe you've seen the Ghostbusters movie, the first one, where Peter Venkman is testing those 2 people, and he pulls up cards, wavy lines, star. Those are Zener cards, and they're used for testing ESP. But these cards are different. They are based on the 5 Western elements, but really that's the structure: 5 set of 5. And that's how the deck is made up. So in this series of sessions, the deck consisted of 25 cards, 5 sets of the 5. I did 10 guesses each, and I calculated the results here. So the first cool thing is that, hey, it took 28 days to do all this. That is, I feel like that's a good amount of time because getting a good performance out of card guessing is kind of tough. Like, it takes a lot out of you. It's weird, but you have to kind of you have to let your intuition, which is a part of card guessing, at the same time, also tell you when to do the test in a way, because you kind of feel it. It's really weird, but for those of you who have really strong intuition, you kind of know what I mean a bit. I think you may do. It's like you feel it. This is right. I'm gonna do it. So you kind of have to wait for that. And so that's what I did. I didn't really put any sort of specific time frame on it, but it just so coincidentally landed on a week and then 21 days. So that's, what is that? 7 times 3 is 21. So that's like, it's a week and then 3 weeks. That's kind of weird that it happened like that, because I didn't want it. Again, it was just, does it feel right to do it? But it just coincidentally felt right to do it in that time frame. So already it's kind of, there's some sort of like meaning already just from the amount of time used. So it was 1 week and then 3 weeks, 21 days, and so we've done 3 tests. So 3 is kind of like a weird, meaningful thing already. So that's something that could be said just kind of right out of the gate before we kind of really dig into anything. So there we go. And then the results, is 2 right answers in the first session, 5 right answers in the next session, 3 right answers in the last session. So we had like performance that is considered standard, like for getting 10 guesses, you should get 2 just kind of by chance alone, because the deck is capable of giving you a 20% chance to get a right answer anyways. So 2 out of 10 is basically the standard, you could say. So we got this, we got the standard amount of performance out of the first session. The second session was notable because you got 5 out of 10, so that's more than twice as good as the first session. And the third session was like slightly better than just one step above standard performance, basically. So you got kind of like a spike, and then like it lands slightly above where it started. So that's kind of cool. But again, you got 2 plus 3 is 5, and 5 is 10, and then you divide that by 3, and you get 33%, because it's like a full third. So let's look at the individual answers. And this is where I've looked at the data before I did this video, and I'll tell you that this is where it kind of gets interesting. So in between all of this is some interesting stuff. So let's look at the guess line by line and see what we can sort of uncover. So we've got the first guess of the second session was a right answer. So we had spirit, and I guess spirit, and that was right. And the second session I got a right answer as well by guessing earth. So that's kind of neat. It's neat to see that I've got a right answer on the first guess. What's interesting is that the result of the first session is the answer and the guess for the third session. So I'm just going to put a star beside it because it's like this line it shows something interesting. It shows some sort of connection in between all of this. So the second guess here, we had again a wrong answer. We had a right answer for the second guess of the second session, and then we had a wrong answer again. But let's look at the result from the first session and the third session. It's spirit. So I've got like a weird coincidence happening from the first session to the third session. So I don't know, something kind of happened there. I just realized that I wrote guess, result, and then answer on these. I just ignore that. That's just a typo on my part. So that's answer. I just realized that. Okay, that's all right. Moving on. So already each line kind of had something, interesting, notable, right? That's kind of cool. So there we go. Third line. Let's see. So fire. We got air here. So so there's nothing really interesting happening on the third guess. It's just that the second session had the third guess also correct, which is kind of cool. But beyond that, all we really have is the result of the first session. The result from the first and second session is the same. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Something has happened. So here we've got spirit and spirit. That's a right answer. Earth, earth, right answer. So this is, if you see here, we've got the same. Here, let's do this. Play around with some colors here. So we got spirit, earth. Look at that. So you've got the same sequence of correct answer, except it's in the fourth guess, but it starts from the first session. So there's like a slanting thing that's happening. So hey, that's cool. That's like a notable thing. Also, we can say that we've had 2 correct answers as the fourth guess for the first and second session. So that's kind of neat. So there's like something happening. So let's do this. Let's put 2 stars kind of beside these 2 sections, 2 guesses here, and move on to the 5th guess. So what's happening? So I guessed earth and earth in the first and second session. That's all right. So yeah, let's give that a little star there and see what else we got here. So fire. Beyond that, that's kind of all I'm seeing in the is it the 5th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I mean, it's not super exciting, right? But that's like, okay, something's happened, something interesting. So this is kind of cool. So we got spirit and spirit, spirit and spirit. So let's just do that and put a star beside that. So the second session and the third session both are spirit. You know, again on the fifth session we've got some similarities happening where the so this is like a sequence and this is like a match, like a pair. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So let's move on to, is this the sixth? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, that was so this is the seventh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Yeah, okay. Fire, fire. So the two guesses were the same. But we've also got the answers being the same for the second and third session. So there's like a weird, let's do that color, like a lighter gray. So there's like again, like something that's like, it's like stacked on top of itself, maybe like fire, fire, and then air, air. Yeah. So I mean, we can just say that, hey, that's notable. And then we've got, what is this? 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this is the eighth guess. And then we had the result, or the answer, I should say, is the same for all of the guesses. Were all air on the eighth guess, and they were all incorrect. That's kind of cool. That's bizarre though. That's like really weird that we've got that result. So I don't know. Let's do that. So we've got here the ninth guess. So spirit, spirit, spirit. Fire. So I don't know. We've really only got spirit being the guess for both the first and second session. Oh, but we've got answer. Answer and guess are kind of, I don't know if that's super important. So this is the 10th. The 10th guess here. So water and water are the guesses for the first and third session. Water, earth, air, fire, spirit. This is kind of cool because now we've got all 5 of the, purple's a good, purple's a spirit color. Yeah, that's good. So we've got all 5 of the elements represented, like earth, water, fire, air, spirit. Captain Planet. I would say that's kind of interesting, at least in terms of like dealing with like tarot and your tarot reading. When you have all of the suits, which are the elements as well, spirit is the major arcana cards. When you've got like a balance of all those cards in your reading, it's something that you can express on. Like you can talk about it. Like you can use that as information about to inform the reading. Because really what that would mean is that everything's balanced very, very well. You've got elements from all the suits, because each suit has a different thematic a set of meanings for each suit. So you've got something from like a theme is covered. So that's kind of cool. So what do we say about all this? I mean, we could just be playing with data and just like goofing around, right? Like that could be said for what we're doing. But looking at these results, there's meaning, at least to me here, when you look at all this, right? It's kind of neat. there's some uncanny things, something that like, based on randomness and like pure chance, like, these cards were digitally shuffled. There was no potential for sensory leak, which is me, the person being tested, gaining some sort of insight into what these cards could be before they come up. Because if you deal with physical cards, you deal with shuffling and accidentally revealing the cards, or maybe the cards have scuffs on them or something like that, or just any number of physical things that could lead to the person being tested knowing something about the state of the deck, because then it can subconsciously influence you. So in the case of this digital tarot program, Orphalese Tarot, there's no way that could have happened because it's digitally shuffling. So there's no way, it's going to. I will see it kind of digitally shuffle in front of me like a roulette, but then as soon as you click it, it just pulls a card out of random. So every time, every guess, it's completely random. So the deck was done in a certain. The deck was in a state where its percentage to generate a correct answer was the same every single time. That's another way to present or prevent a sensory leak, is that if you had a real deck of cards, you just kept guessing and guessing from the deck is reducing in size. Therefore, you can subconsciously count the cards in a way, right? Because there's only 25, and as you go through, you know how many are left, and based on your guesses, you can sort of, use logic. You can like do some deduction and kind of gain an edge that way. The only thing that could be said about Sentry Leak is that I was tracking my answers as I was going, right? So I was recording it, and so I knew my result previously. But we can still say that Sensory Leak was avoided because every guess was completely random anyways. So my past guess has no influence on the next guess. At least that's just based on what we can say about how the Orphalese program works. It's generating a new card, completely random, every single time. So my previous guesses should not have any impact on the next guess. But in this case, we're seeing all these connections. So if each guess is completely random without any influence on the previous guess, then how are we seeing these interesting things? Yes, humans love patterns and seeing patterns and numbers, and we can just sort of like make things up that way. Humans are susceptible to it because we love patterns. We love them. Routine and all that stuff. It's kind of human nature. But it's just so weird that we're seeing these things, right? Like, the argument I guess I'm making is like, but it's just so weird. That's it. So, so when we look at the data, we get something like this. So every single guess, if you put it side by side, has something notable happening. And if you were to keep doing this, you would see more and more of these connections spread out as it sort of grows in size, and it would become maybe overwhelming if you look at the data. But already, once you get three sets, 3 sessions to examine line by line, you can start to see these patterns pop up. We've done this before in testing. I don't think this was published, but it was something I did with a 50 card deck, where it was just 10 sets of the 5 elements, and I just drew them out of the deck and recorded them, and then just did it again and again, kind of like how I did it this way. And if I compared them side by side, you got about a 20% chance to get any sort of matchup in a pair. And so it kind of says that like it really is 20%. Like that's what the deck can produce based on statistics and stuff. So that's what it's really capable of. So and in that test, it wasn't about using ESP to like get a right answer or anything like that. It was just mechanically seeing what the deck is, the state of the deck, and just matching it up. And if you do that, you get about 20% of matches when you compare them side by side. So, the second you put a human involved, and you're guessing, you're trying to influence the cards, something extra happens. That's not part of this like mechanical thing. So there's something to be said about that. When the human's involved, and the intuition is a part of this, we've got something else interesting happening, and not just reverting to the baseline of chance. So when you're trying, you're putting a lot of effort into it. Something really does happen, and I can tell you from the experience of the sessions. Each session was, me doing my best to really feel the guesses and like let my gut, something in like just my whole body, just line up and be, and just let it happen. It's quite difficult to really know, what to feel, because it feels very scattered when you're in the moment of like, okay, well, it's going to be 5 things, right? So what will it be? You have to let your mind kind of just tell you. And for me, what I was seeing, I was seeing the image in my head. So if you want to describe it's like a visual clairvoyance for me. So I'm into the future. I'm seeing that card will be this when it happens, which is a few moments away. It's like seconds, right? So I'm visually seeing it. I suppose you could actually hear it in your head, like your internal monologue could say fire, whatever, your squiggly lines, like whatever it is. So you could like hear it in your internal monologue. But for me, it was visual. So like I saw it, and then I would say it out loud, my guess, and that was that. So you could probably classify it as something along like some visual clairvoyant phenomenon. But that's what we got here for this analysis of all this. It's pretty interesting. I wonder what other people can generate as far as creating their data, and like what patterns come up. Because we saw some really neat patterns. This thing here is still like, I'm thinking about it right now, and it's like, this is just super bizarre to have that happen in that way. And then we've got and then spirit here. It's just, I don't know, it's just so strange. But there's also a lot of cases of missing PSI too in these 2 sections, where it could be said that you're demonstrating psychic ability, ESP, in avoiding the answer. So a way to kind of make that a little bit more clear, you could go, let's say you had 3 sessions with no right answers. That's actually a notable thing, because you could say that you were using ESP, some sort of phenomenon, to avoid getting a right answer. But generally, you should get at least 1 or 2 right answers, right? That's what the statistics say. So you should get at least 2. So in these little chunks right here, maybe we could say that missing PSI was involved in some way to not get a right answer. So maybe there's something more notable here in these guesses. So it happened in all 3 sessions in 8 and 7. So there's that to be said too. Yeah, it's fun to look at this and talk about, because then it turns the sessions that you did into something a little bit more. The 5th session was the coolest, because it was, you get a boost in your confidence as you get more right answers. That's an interesting thing that you can say about it, because I felt it. The more when you go with no right answers, the more you do that, it deflates your confidence. So you tend to get less right answers, I feel. So there's something interesting that happens when you're doing well. You keep doing well, so it's like an exponential thing. And you could say that in real life for like a lot of things, right? Like if you're confident, things like work out. When you're not confident, things are doesn't go too well. So if you can maintain your confidence in some way, that's a good way to ensure that you're bringing about the best of your internal abilities, and you know that's a good way to go about it. So with all this, like, what's the application? Like, how can this be used in the world? It can't just be like a solo thing sitting here doing card guessing. Well, what does that do for you as a human being out in the world? Well, here's my take on it: is that this is doing these tests. It's like a gymnasium for your mind, and for you to train your intuition, so that when you get out in the real world, and you're forced to make choices that have probabilities attached to them to some degree, right? If you're working at a job and you have to make a choice. If I do this and I don't do this, things can happen, right? There's an element of your gut instinct of knowing, yes, I'm going to do this, and it's going to work out. And so, if the feeling you get in card guessing of a right answer happens in real life for other things, then you've got that connection. So you're training that muscle, that memory, or no, sort of the mind muscle, in being able to tell you that the thing that you're doing is the right thing. Wouldn't that be cool to know that you are doing the right thing all the time? Because that's not really that's not really how the world works a lot of the time. There's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know if you're doing the right thing. Morality is quite subjective, and all that, right? So you don't know if what you're doing is right or wrong. It's very difficult to know sometimes. Sometimes it's clear, but sometimes it isn't. But what if you knew, with a increased chance, that what you're making a choice to do is the right thing and it's going to work out? How would that be, right? Like, that would be kind of cool, if you were to know with certainty that that was going to be a good thing or not, more consistently than not. And so when you feel that gut feeling of a right, if you can feel the same feeling you get when you get a right answer in the card guessing out in the real world, then you're doing that muscle testing, the training your mind. So that could be it. That could be the application for out in the real world. People just get more intuitive the more you do this, and then you can just exist as a more highly intuitive human race, where we're just kind of, yeah, that's the right thing. I'm doing the right thing all the time. It's working out. And it's weird. Like, when you pay attention to these things and try to record like what happens to you out in the real world, you start to see these like synchronicities happen, where like what you want to have happen happens to you, when you start to just get out there and like play around with your life and your choices and stuff. Things just kind of work out sometimes if you are aligned with everything in it. What you're doing is what you want. You've got your skills, you've practiced, you've done all these things. Things just like work out. You can feel it too, right? So that's a part of it. It's more of ascending your human condition and your human consciousness to like the next level. Maybe that's what it is. 33%? Yeah. All right. So that's better than 20%. I'll take it, right? Third of the time. So that's it. That's the video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.